Sit down.
You need to
Sit
sit
down.
down. You need to stay sitting down.
I wanted to put it.
Hey. Sit down.
Okay, SeaWorld. This is where parents go to take their families to go see all the sea creatures, go get on all rides, go to their new park Aquatica, and see the most infamous Shamu. That's all kids care about nowadays. When are we going to go see Shamu, Mom and Dad? What time are we going to go see Shamu? Can we go sit in the splash zone? It's not until we're older do we realize what harm these animals are actually in. On USA Today, it came out that a 30-year-old orca whale named Kayla recently passed away. In the wild, the average lifespan of an orca whale is 80 to 90 years old for males and 90 to 100-year-old for females. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that we are putting these animals in harm. They are not an amusement for our entertainment. This evening, I'd like to inform you about the current situation at SeaWorld concerning the orcas' health care, then about a tragic incident that occurred from having these animals captive, and finally, what steps we can take to stop SeaWorld from getting more orcas from the wild. So I'm going to give you guys an insight on how these orcas are being treated right now at SeaWorld. So as of April 2019, there are 70 orcas held captive in captivity according to whale and dolphin conservation.com. So these orcas, they are held in a very tight quarters, about a mile long, and out in the wild, they're known to swim for 100 miles a day. So they become very frustrated, and some even say psychotic, being in such a tight space for most of their lives. So what they will begin doing is they will begin to gnaw at the actual bars on the cage. So that's why you'll see sometimes, like the killer whales, they'll have like missing teeth, because they'll have to go in and like remove them. And what they'll also do is, when the whale Tilikum came into Orlando in 1981, the females began to attack him. So he had a lot of like scars and he was bleeding a lot. So what they had to do is put him isolated from everybody else, which some say led him to become very psychotic and very, you're alone for most of your life in such like dark quarters, because he'd be there from 5 p.m. in the afternoon to 7 a.m. in the morning. So they begin to fight each other. So on SeaWorldOfHurt.com, it talks also about how their dorsal fins, I don't know if you guys know how they're always bent over there that you see, and that's not healthy. They will tell you at SeaWorld when they're interviewing them that the trainees will say, oh no, that's normal for our orcas to have a bent fin, but when you see them out in the wild, they don't have that. All of them are straight up. So what also is bad about the way they're treating the orcas is their diet. What they feed them at SeaWorld is just thawed out fish. It's just like they give it to them whenever they do something right, whenever they get a trick good. But out in the wild, they're eating seals. You see them hunt as a pack, getting different seals off of icebergs or even sometimes sharks or other orcas. So on CNN released a video called Blackfish on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. And Dr. Lori Marino talks about how these orcas, they each have their own language. Each family has a set of languages, like different, like, I guess, vocals that they use. But so imagine being taken from your family, like somebody from, let's say, China, somebody from Africa, somebody from the USA, and putting them in such tight quarters and expecting them to just get along like that. Like, that doesn't make sense. So these orcas, they become frustrated with themselves, So let me tell you guys about the incident that happened on February 24th of 2010. So on February 24th, Dawn Brandshoes was a senior SeaWorld trainer for the orcas, and that day she worked very closely with Tilikum, and Tilikum is SeaWorld's largest male orca that they got from Iceland, and he was weighing at over 12,500 pounds. So what happened that day was all the trainers, they were trying to work with Tilikum, and that girl, Dawn, she worked very closely with him, and that day that he was very agitated, he was very aggressive, and he was known to be aggressive, and SeaWorld knew that, but they would still mate him with all the other females there. He had at least 21 offspring. So that day, they had gone off to go do like a relationship type of, I guess, a relationship exercise where they go off on their own and it's just one-on-one with the orca and the trainer. And what happened was she laid down and he grabbed a hold of her forearm and pulled her underwater. And he started turning himself, and he ended up pulling off her arm and scalpelating her. So she ended up dying that day, and SeaWorld, they first tried to blame it on, it was her ponytail that he grabbed a hold of, but eyewitnesses were there. They're like, no, he grabbed a hold of her arm and pulled her down. So how can we help these poor orcas? So after Blackfish became released, SeaWorld stopped their breeding program using Tilica's sperm. And also what we can do is to boycott SeaWorld. Yes, I know, boycott. Where are we going to take your family? Well, you can take your family many places. You can go on a road trip. You can go to Fiesta, Texas. Imagine if no more orcas were held in captivity. This would mean no more mothers separated from their babies, because when the mothers become separated, they begin to cry. There was an incident, like on Blackfish, it talks about how there was one mother who they take their different SeaWorlds will trade their orcas. So they took one of the babies from Orlando and brought him over here to SeaWorld, and that the mother just kept crying and crying, that she would just stay in the corner of her tank and just cry, and she was very depressed, that they had to even call in a specialist to come talk to them. So imagine if this wouldn't have to happen, that would be no more swimming either in such small, tight places. So recently, Canada just made it illegal actually to hold whales captive. So imagine if the U.S. could do that. So what can we do? So after informing you about the health care of these whales and about how they are being treated and about Dawn's their case, hopefully we can stop going to SeaWorld, and start going to other places to treat these animals as they should be treated out in the wild, and just give them the love that they deserve. So hopefully with my presentation, you all were able to become informed and make this action to not be taking us to SeaWorld anymore. Don't give them that money, that revenue that they need, And hopefully in the next 5 years, we will see a difference in the revenue of SeaWorld, and by maybe 2020, we won't have any more whales held